Okay.
All right, welcome. This is the ABC Team Huddle meeting for September 21st, 2022. Today, we're going to take a few moments to go over what to do when there's a recess. Sometimes it's not clearly spelled out. We're going to talk about slides, and if you're looking at a PowerPoint and referencing that. And then I'm hoping we can grab a couple examples from the audio and hearing what they say and hearing how that can be transcribed in a some kind of a manner where everyone can understand. So, and not necessarily in that order, I will tell you. So let me just grab the first example. Welcome, Auleen and Chris. Thanks for being on tonight. Today, okay. 13th. So Hillsborough, July 13th meeting. I'm just going to share that and cue up the audio. Taking me a minute to find it. Sorry. Okay, there we go. There we go. And this, it's also something as far as having inaudibles. A lot of times I find even as I get the audio, before I was getting the audio and uploading it to the team, and there was a miss. You know, once you hear a recording of a recording, it starts disintegrating. Hopefully, what you guys are hearing is you know, it should be as quality as I get, because they're loading it once into the Dropbox and then we're pulling from the same source. So we'd all hear the same level of detail or the same quality of audio. And so in this example, I know that the audio was a little off, and I think I've got that queued up here. So we're gonna take a listen to it. But if you find that you're having trouble listening, we've talked about this before, just using the Express Scribe tools to magnify, if you can, if you will, the sound quality. You know, it increases the volume in the background, so then you can also increase the audio on your computer. Also, if you are using headphones, I have seen it happen so many times over 17 plus years with ABC, is that if you're using headphones, a lot of times your headphones disintegrate quicker than you think. So if you have the opportunity, I always listen in the room because it is better for your ears long term. But if you are and you're having to use headphones, be sure that you're swapping them out. Grab your kids or grab another pair just to see how it compares, because a lot of times they disintegrate more quickly than you think.
That's
so here we have
interesting.
Grillo. Do you use headphones or do you use
all the time? All the time.
Yeah.
I use these guys all the time, and I find I've got, my desk speakers are Harman Kardon, so that it's not like they're cheap. And
Right.
I find that the headphones give me the advantage, being able to pick up, whether it's because there's no noise in the background, I have no idea, but I notice the headphones help me, and playing with the volume, of course, but the headphones to me make it easier for me to understand. So that's
And they do me too. But I would say, just as a cautionary for the health of your ears, your well-being, I completely let my noise blast into the room, and then I'll put the earphones in if I'm having trouble hearing something. But that really is my last resort. If I can't quite hear, I ramp up whatever I can through Express Scribe. I change the volume, I change the speed. And then if none of those work, then I default. My last go-to is my earphones. They do help. And I agree with you, they are more clear, but for the amount of hours that you're listening to audio, it is amazing just how, and I'm sure you've experienced it, one person talks so much louder, and you have, we only get one set of ears. So protect those babies. I close my door, I kind of close myself in my office. I'm fortunate to be able to do that, so I can just let everybody hear what's happening. And my husband often gets a laugh at what people are talking about. But yeah, so just a thought.
Okay.
Well, I don't use them, but I do close the door in my office, and it's nice and quiet in here, and I've been fortunate. Now, of course, the next one I do, I'll have a problem, but nonetheless, I haven't had a problem so far.
Good, good. Okay, I'm going to see if I can't pull this little bit of audio right here, just so. It's starting a little bit prior, so you're going to hear me fast forward it, and then we're picking up at the 149:34.
You also see that a little before the example where you have the windows and jeans and like that phone house. So clear the lights.
Just fast forwarding.
Shows up that it is. Maybe the applicant can or can't have some type of
Okay, I will say that's at real speed. Are you guys able to hear that okay?
Nope, that was all gobbledygook.
gobble.
Gobbledygook. Okay. So typical Grillo, he is introducing, I don't know if the applicant answer this or staff or so-and-so and such, and he's got this long lead in until he finally gets to the question. So we'll listen to it. Maybe I can. It should have, sometimes he's a little better, I find, a little faster audio because he talks so slow.
Yeah.
That might help. So I'll just play it and you guys can see if you listen or can't hear it, that's fine. Then we'll talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
angled parking, and it looks like kind of a combination of angle, a little bit parallel parking, dribbling on the north side of Reed. And how is that in your mind? Or do you think that's going to work? Is that going to be in conjunction with the city sign, like in terms of high turnover parking, or is it going to be a lot of loading zoning going on, or what is your notion of what you're hoping for?
So no loading, we address the loading on each year.
Yeah, that was, did you guys hear any of that at all?
Some of it,
I
some of
could
it.
have taken context clues from the blue text or the highlighted text.
Yeah. Yeah, so that also can be like when you're getting used to someone's rhythm of talking, he's way off his mic, and we've been talking to Hillsborough about the audio is so challenging. Like usually they are just diamond crystal, like you don't even have to think, they just are money. But we're finding now that as cities are moving back to the hybrid, the combination between the Zoom audio, which we've been used to, it's been pretty good, versus people sitting in their seats is really challenging. Our planning commission, I physically attend Wilsonville now, they're back up and running in-person meetings, and it is amazing how they're on their phones, they're slunched in their chair, they're having sidebar conversations, whereas before, you know, they just need to get back into that the proper how you properly act during a meeting. You know, it's kind of been slipping. So I assume that might be happening with Grillo. So the reason I pulled this out as an example, although now you can't hear it, but from context, is some of it was kind of gobbledygook, and he was going off on a couple of different rabbit trails, but he came back in, you know, would this be for loading or unloading or for high turnover uses? And as I'm re-listening to it, I'm thinking, oh, then okay, so that's where I put then the whole thing here is what was happening. So I just added the parking north of Reed, and the original document had all of this in gray. So all I added was the north side of Reed Street, you know, ask about the parking. And then I just beefed it up a little bit, but the whole signage thing, I think that was already in blue as well. So just a way of maybe trying to pull out some of the gobbledygook, you know, stuff that's aren't your catching words here and there. And then if you were still in doubt, just throw it in blue with a timestamp.
Okay.
And we talked about no longer bolding anything, correct?
No.
Okay, so changes made, just don't put anything in bold on purpose. I know, I don't know if Claire is doing bold on her timestamps regardless. That's fine because they just delete quickly. But when we have bold text, let's see, like, I think I've changed most of them. Let's see. When there's bold text in the middle of a file, then it's just one more change I have to make to get it cleaned out to go to client.
Okay.
So that's why we're not having that, have no building in there if you can. Okay. Any questions about something like that?
No.
Okay. Okay, slides. This is an interesting one. And Hillsborough, they're one of those clients that we have the privilege of seeing the video, and video can be a great way of identifying speakers and getting clarity from the PowerPoints if we don't already have them. I am very leery of inserting slide numbers when we don't physically have the PowerPoint slides.
Right.
I know, Claire, you're doing a great job above and beyond, because she watches the audio, as I've understood, and she will insert the slide to make people understand more. But a lot of times they're referring to like the light gray area at the end of the building, or there was another one in here, something about, oh, it's in the August 10th Hillsborough. They're referencing a slide, the blue area, which is the pool. It's if they don't say slide 6, it's challenging to ensure that we're on the same track. In this example, they reference this light gray area a number of times. She already did the work, and I appreciate that about you, Claire. I left it in blue with a timestamp because we're not sure. Sometimes, depending on what their meeting is like, sometimes they'll actually have the slide numbers and you might be able to make them out on the video. Sometimes you physically have to count how many slides they've caught up to, which is an enormous waste of time. We don't get paid for that. So it's great to put, the slide if you're trying to figure it out. But rather than doing this, I would just put slide ? Or slide X ? It's like, we feel like we need to reference a slide number here. So staff has all of those slides. They can turn right to it and fill it in if they need to, or what I found is they usually just delete them. So it's a little bit extra that we don't need to do. And I do appreciate the idea of why, we would want to include them. When we're doing Wilsonville's, for instance, I'm physically there. I see the slides. We physically get the entire slide deck. So I know exactly what slide it is. That's a little bit different than watching on the video.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does,
Yeah.
especially when there's presentations where they jump back and forth, and it's this slide, it's the next slide, and they're out of order.
Yeah.
We've seen that before. So, okay.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Good.
And I'm going to pull up see if I can find the one on the August also, because that one was a little bit, it's a great example of how we can eliminate or remove things. Okay, here it is. I'm going to just share. Okay, so this is the August 10 Hillsborough. And this is one of those places where it was in blue. I haven't fixed the colors on this yet, so this would be in pink. So the pool area indicated in blue towards the western edge, blah, blah, blah. And then she cites again slide 6. Great. Just happens to be slide 6 also, obviously different presentation. But then when you get into this 1247, so this is also kind of, this also doubles as one of those with listening to it and then matching the text to match what the audio is stating. So I'm going to just jump to that one so you can hear it first, then we'll talk about it. Is that more helpful, or is it better for me to introduce them in it?
Whatever, it's fine.
It didn't matter.
Good. Okay, let's just jump there. All right. All right, this should be it. Can you hear?
There's also some gym space, and what's been changed to that corner is that garage doors on Glenton and open up onto a small balcony, again, providing this flex space between sites. It's also tucked right under that right-hand side of that oval is a yoga studio that also has a garage door that opens up to some landscape. So keeps the things, the area makes that connection between public and private, and provides flexible space for different activities throughout the year. And last, You know, these
Oop,
sites
didn't mean to
don't
do that.
have nice 90-degree angles.
Sorry,
Sometimes there's odd.
click the wrong X. Okay, here we go. Share again. I'm just going to share screen. Okay, so on the right is when we just listened to the edited part, and on the left is the original. What struck me, so we've got the whole, we'll polish off the slide 6 issue. So in the original, the on slide 6 was actually within the text. And to me, that reference is like she actually stated, oh, on slide 6, you'll see the yoga studio. She does not say slide 6. So that's when I default back to put it in parens at the end of the sentence or the end of the paragraph. Okay. The second thing is, again, because Claire did the work, I may or may not retain this for staff. I probably put it in blue, slide 6, and then in blue here, because that's what makes you think, what is she talking about in blue? The only reason she says that is she's referencing a slide, but you can eliminate a lot of those directional words and it still has the sentences still works just right. So the pool area toward the western side, so I would just delete that. The pool area toward the western edge of the development site had not changed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You just have to remove those markers and the sentences work just fine. And I find that that's a more direct way of writing anyway. And then we don't have to worry about what slide, who's on first, etc.
Yeah.
The other part of this, with this corner change, so the original just said the gym space would now include 3 garage doors on Blanton.
Right.
But she kind of does a false start. She goes, you notice the gym space there on the corner? The change at the corner was to include 3 garage doors. So there's garage doors in the gym opening out onto this space, but then there's this yoga studio right at the right side of the oval. Now, was that the right side of the oval that's showing on the slide, or is there an oval actually in the site plan? That I'm not sure of. I'm going to blue that for staff.
Yeah.
But the original with the yoga also said a yoga studio that would open via a garage door to the landscape area.
Right.
I guess I would just say, think of things very literal. You can envision it opening onto that, you know, they open a garage door and it opens out to a space, but it opened onto some landscaping instead of landscaping area. Does that make sense? It's a little more, I don't know, maybe it's the open via, it's kind of fluffy to me. It would also have a garage door that opened onto some landscaping.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm beating a dead horse there, but and then the same goes with the pool area above it. Can you both read that, the text on my screen or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the original, read that, and then we'll come over and read this one over here. Oops, sorry.
It's a busy sentence.
Whoa. Long.
A couple missing articles in there.
Yeah.
But then, so now that you've read that, is this a good, let's do an audio of that one since we still got that meeting up. 12:10. So now that you've read the original, just listen to this, maybe listen to the audio as you're reading the edited version. Okay.
The pool area, that's the pool area in blue over on the western edge of the development site. It hasn't changed much, but there's interior exercise and flex space that has been incorporated into that pool area, that open space area. It's been amenitized by providing full glass doors, either sliding or garage doors, to make the spaces flexible to provide in and out movement between them. So there are big doors, and I'm going to have an image of that coming up between the pool area and that inside space. So that can be flexed as open space. Right in the corner.
And that's why it goes right at the corner and talks about the gym space. So it was interior exercise and flex space. So the gym is the interior exercise component. Then there's this flex space that had been incorporated into the open space pool area. And then at the end, because they're talking about like they need more open space, right? They're trying to
Correct.
amend this whole thing. And so that's why this last sentence is also important to include. Just confirming that that's going to be counted now as extra open space. Let me make sure.
Now, and I have a question, and it's funny that you pulled this up because this actually caused me some agony in both this one and the original meeting. Amenitized is not a word. It's a forced gerund in the past tense.
Yes.
I even called my father, who's in real estate, and I was like, look, you've done developments all over the world.
Yeah.
Is amenitized a word you use in real estate development? It's like, Chris, I never heard of that. No, because
Right.
you'd say amenities, but you don't amenitize, and you wouldn't. So, but I think in the original meeting, Cho used that, and
Mhm.
here it is again. And so, and I'm looking at this now thinking I missed cutting down this into some manageable chunky sentences instead of this gigantic run-on jibber jabber, but neither here nor there. But I see your point in the flex space.
Okay. And that's a good, that's a great training point too. So amenitized is used throughout our planning, various planning departments, architects. Maybe it's something to the Northwest. You know, we know language changes depending on what part of the country we are.
Right.
And so, and it goes with, I mean, I'm sure you understand what it means, but
Oh, of
because they
course.
use it, you
Right.
know, that's what we err to. And so, yeah, even though it is unsettling.
No, it's
Yeah.
not that. It's just it was one of those things where it's like, and I get the point. It's used by more than one person now,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so they're whether that's regional or a dialect thing or whatever. I mean, it's y'all. I get it.
Yeah.
So so I
Yeah.
understand it, but yeah, I was just like, why can we not just use? There's literally thousands of words that we could.
That would have
use.
been better.
But to your point, it's okay, this is what they said. And I know we've had that conversation. You and I had that conversation about an architect that was trying to make up his own flowery language a few months ago.
Mhm.
And in his case, he really made up a word. It wasn't something that was, I don't
It
remember
was
what it was.
ridiculous.
Yeah. And you're like, it was something where he was clearly trying to sound better than he was, but the word that he used grammatically was a word, but it had no frame of reference for what he was. It sounded like something, I guess. And
Wow.
in that case, I put in the proper word, but yeah, amenitizing something. Yeah,
This doesn't work in our brains. I get that.
It does, but it's
Huh?
what.
It's still
Okay.
weird.
But there again, at one point, and I can't remember exactly when we discussed this, you had put something in there. You said, this is, use the jargon that they're using. That was on something that I did.
Mhm.
And I saw where it was, and I said, God, I wouldn't have said it that way, but you said, use their jargon.
Yeah.
And I listened to it again. I said, okay, so that's the word, as Chris just said, y'all, that we would
Mhm.
say. That's a word that must be up in the Northwest, you know, just blame it on those people up in Oregon. It's
right.
not us. It
We're on
ain't
the
us,
left side of the
baby.
country.
There, I do know there was something. Well, I'm gonna let you keep presenting. I'm gonna make a note because it was something relevant to your edits that you sent me, but I don't remember which set it was. So
Okay. And we're
Yeah.
happy to pull those up if you find them or you figure out which one it is. The only other thing I would say on this specific piece is, it kind of happens across all team members, is a lot of see how this sentence is broken up, by providing glass doors, comma, either sliding or garage, comma, between. And that's how she stated it, but it's really a clunky sentence for the reader.
yes.
And so
Yeah.
that's why we say either full glass sliding or garage doors between the two spaces. I just pull that, and I've been doing that a lot. Where I'll take out these little extra parens
Yeah.
and just make a full sentence. Less commas, the better. They are necessary, and we need to use them appropriately. But to do it, it kind of demotes more flowery stuff to me, and
Okay.
it's just not as smooth for the reader. So,
Mhm.
and that goes to something too I've been taught forever, is how you keep related items together in the sentence. So
Right.
here we are, glass doors. So we want the sliding and garage to be in the glass door area, either separates them. Kind of a bad example, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Have we beat that one
I
to
guess
death?
you did.
So I think, then we were going to go on to, I'm just going to make this big. There was scrolling, so watch your dizzy. Oh, this is a good one. So Malcolm, I never can pronounce his name right, forgive me. We saw this in the, I think it's in the July minutes too, where he introduced himself as a planner, and he's really just explaining what LEED is. But LEED is really pretty well known in the industry. And so then I just deleted it. We understand that he's an accredited professional. That's the only reason why he was asked to use this or review and vet this, gold level new standard. But these are the kind of extra fluffy things we just take out. Let's see. And I have not sent these edits, so you'll see, you can compare the crossouts and stuff like that at a different time.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there was this is the part about when they take a recess. When there's a back and forth, in this case, Arlene, they're getting ready to go to the applicant's presentation. They're having some technical issues. They can't get the PowerPoints up or something. There's talking in the background. Staff comes on, hey, we need a moment to run. And so then Bennett announced, we're just going to be in recess till we hear back from staff. Well, kind of more towards the formal, the Planning Commission took a brief recess to address technical issues, and the meeting was reconvened. Most of our cities will actually state a time. We will often guess, like if the meeting started at 6 o'clock, we know that it's 6:23 now, almost 6:24. So I might put that in there, that's when it was recessed at 6:24, and I put it in blue, so that they know that we're guesstimating on the time that they actually recessed. And then the meeting was convened at, and it was 25, there were 3 minutes out there, but that's how we handle when they take a recess. And then, Dawn confirming that the meeting applicants can hear and they queued up the application. That's just part of the meeting in the background. We don't really need that on the audio or in the written record. We know that's happening, or else the applicant wouldn't be continuing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's what I had for today. So what questions do you guys have?
Well, let me get my list out.
Okay.
Since we're dealing with that particular one, and I had put these couple questions in Trello.
I apologize. Okay.
No, that's fine. Because I knew we were going to have the meeting, so I was going to discuss it. So, and they're not complicated. We're not doing physiology here. In my cheat sheets, I was looking because in this particular meeting, they were really tilting at the windmill of open space. I tried, successfully and unsuccessfully, I'm sure, to make sure I was using it in the proper parlance, i.e. as a proper noun versus just as this is an open space statement.
Yeah.
But it occurred when I did a search. I think it's in there 38 times. So I tried to go through, because it seems as though in certain conversations, open space is a concept that is a proper noun from the point of view of zoning.
Yes.
Right.
And in others, it's simply a terminology saying, hey, the pool is out here in an open space.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there a hard and fast rule on that, or are we just basically taking context?
I guess the squishy rule is I capitalize it when it's a proper noun, in that it's like the open space plan.
Right.
Right.
I know that there was 38 of them because I ended up just doing find replace. I turned them all to small caps. And then
Okay.
as I'm going through and catching open space plan, and there was a couple others,
Okay.
open space standards would be another one. So that's the only way I use that.
Right. The
Oh,
other related one to that is maybe a little bit more formal than open space. It's land use, because that comes up in a lot of the meetings.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
kind of the same thing, but in our trustee, in the cheat sheets, I don't know, because they use several different land use terms, land use something.
Okay.
I can't think of I think it's a state term, maybe it's a local term, but I think it's a state official term for land usage. But I wasn't sure what those were. I don't believe it's in this one as much,
Okay.
or if it is, it's only in it a handful of times.
You'll always see Land Use Board of Appeals capitalized, and then it's
Right.
LUBA.
Right.
Land use.
Yeah, because
zoning,
that's in our little
Acronyms.
cheat sheet, right?
Yeah, anagrams, yeah.
I would say in
Acronyms.
general, land use will be lowercase.
Okay.
I would err to that. And when we find an example that is the exception to the rule, we'll talk about
course.
it, I guess.
There's always one, at least
There's
one.
always one. Yeah, at least one with ABC.
No, if it's tilted towards, if the primary capitalization for land use comes based on LUBA and the rest of it is simply terminology, then that answers my question
Okay.
pretty
Yeah.
well, because the word behind land use is not always the same one. And I can't think of the example. I just wrote down land use as my notes.
Yeah.
And then the last one was
Before we leave that, the only thing I can think of is like land use review. And that is always lowercase. So,
okay. So that's a good one. That's not ringing any bells, but nonetheless. So if LUBA is the primary land use worry, that's cool. The rest of them, like I said, but the way that they throw the term around, especially with some of these committees and commissions and what have you, boards, it's clearly something that they're very passionate about, or that they feel that they're elevating where it shouldn't be. It should just be. Oh, so I got it. The other one, and this one that I had that I couldn't make a determination on, and it's somewhat superfluous, but it's the community garden. They referenced that a handful of times, and I was not sure if that was the applicant's formal term, because to me it sounded like they were just trying to make it sound a little bit more important than it really was. To me, I think I put them all in lowercase, but it seemed as though they used it as a proper place name in a couple of times, and it didn't resonate as this should be. I don't know. I was kind of puzzled on, do we use this in the applicant's case? It's tough to say whether they were formalizing it and saying this is a place name. I don't know. I assume we should default to a lowercase in that instance, but I didn't know if there's a hack to determine.
Yeah. Do you
The hack
have
to
one there?
determine.
Is
sorry,
there
Ollie?
one there in your communities that your communities use?
It's-
Initial caps?
Yes, so the go-to, I guess, is a proper noun would be Pinyards Community Garden, or Highlands Community Garden, then it's a proper noun
Right.
because it has the proper name. Community
Right,
garden otherwise will always be lowercase.
okay,
And that
Okay.
also goes, I want to just tag team a little bit more with your land use question because like open space is the land use. Residential is a land use, commercial is a
Right.
land, mixed use is a land use. So that's why they get very particular about it, is because
Oh, yeah.
the way it's zoned, you can only have land uses in certain areas.
right,
Right.
So community garden is one of those that counts as open space. And that's why you're hearing them go on and on about it, because they need to increase their percentage of open space
yeah.
in this particular
No,
thing.
no, I got that. I just,
Oh.
I couldn't determine if they were trying, and again, it's strictly from the applicants in this particular instance that prompted this question. It's strictly from the applicant's mouth
Yeah,
that, they're using it like it's a formal place name, and it just doesn't have the ring of authenticity for, okay, yeah, this is so I just wasn't sure how we best to approach that. I wasn't like staying up late at night agonizing over it.
Good,
Like I said,
good. No,
something that I
didn't
could
think
certainly
so.
wait a couple of days to get the answer, but
Well, and that would also be a place where I would say, the community garden. Does that make sense? So they've already designated that place. So that's when the and we're going to put, they might say we're going to have a community garden, and then the community garden is located at the corner of 3rd and Main.
okay.
right,
That makes any sense.
got it,
The other thing I would say about open space also, and this is something that can trip people up, there's open space and then there's usable open space. So you might have a
Right.
wetlands that's an open space that counts towards certain criteria. And then there's usable open space, meaning, you can walk on it, throw a frisbee, have a playground, etc.
right,
So I usually recommend, unless they say usable open space, that's one of those, like Arlene said, just default to the jargon. Don't insert usable if it's not stated.
Okay.
Okay.
okay. All
Good
right,
questions.
that makes sense, that makes sense,
Next.
thank you.
Sure.
And then the other one, and I cannot think of the example, and I cannot think of which meeting it was. So I'm going to paraphrase here. I noticed in one of your edits, so it wasn't this meeting, I think it was last week, I don't know. And if we go to search for it, I think that was 21 pages, so we're not going to find it. But
Oh,
I
that
remember you used an example a few weeks ago in the training huddle here about a commissioner or somebody on the tape says something about taking a gun and shooting something, saying it sort of tongue in cheek, but nonetheless. And then I noticed, like I said, and now they weren't threatening to shoot anybody in this particular instance that I'm talking about, but somebody had said something objectionable. It was clearly stated, there was no question, this is what came out of this poor person's mouth. You had struck it out in the edits, and I understand maybe we're protecting people, whatever. I don't, neither here nor there, but is it, there probably isn't a rule on that. Is that easier just to highlight, send it on?
Highlighted blue, send it on. Yep.
Okay.
really,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting,
Yeah.
derogatory,
Probably Hillsborough. I know they've been getting dicey in some of the conversations. And I remember retaining quite a bit of their discussion because he kind of got off on his high horse, the chair did, or president, and then he came back. But yeah, I'd rather have it included and put in blue than me having to go back and type it all back in, right?
okay,
So just put it highlighted in blue for me with the timestamp. Perfect.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
It should cover all bases that way.
Yeah.
And that was my questions.
Okay. Arlene, did you have anything?
No, you got mine this morning, earlier today. You
Okay.
helped me
Okay.
with on the transcription with the blue and and a
Good.
few things there. And then I had a couple of questions, but a couple of things that you just said in here, which I have not had. You
Okay.
just answered. I made my notes here for my notes from today.
Okay, great. Since we just have a couple minutes, this was something that I've seen a couple of different times. This is in the West Lynn, and it's taken more of a back and forth form. And the audio was cutting out. There's things that are happening with this, but in this instance, a commissioner or counselor, excuse me, asks a question. She kind of gives the backstory to it. She's asking what the ramifications are. And then the mayor says, well, are you asking for questions from staff or City Attorney Monahan? And then she goes, City Attorney Monahan. So I moved. She just asked what the ramifications are. I just inserted City Attorney Monahan up there because they clarify that that's who she's asking. So I just insert it. It's easier. And then she kind of re-asks her question, you know, what are the ramifications? So I just kind of bolstered up her question. I think it was just adding maybe a word here or there to make it a little more robust and encapsulated all these little bitty things that are going down here. And then we went right to City Attorney Monahan confirmed IG was binding, and then he went on with his comments. So sometimes when you get someone just asking, are you asking this or that? And it's a he said, she said,
It
just
goes on and
back
on.
forth. You can pull it, you can just cinch it up like that.
Okay.
They keep circling the wagons.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
So, great.
I have one note for you, Miss Paula. I
Oh,
will
yes.
be traveling. I'm going to I'll shoot you an email. I'm leaving town next Thursday. I won't be back until Monday. So if you need something short, I can probably catch it, but in the next couple of days, but anything after that, if you'll just wait until, you know, maybe Monday week, and I'll put the dates down and send it to you in a little email, just so that you know it, just so you
Oh, I
have it.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Okay.
just the heads up's all I need. That's the wonderful thing about being an independent contractor. You just come and go as you please. Just let me know.
Well,
I need heads up.
Now,
Yeah.
let's be really honest, Mom. Go ahead and tell her you're going up to see one of your cousins in Virginia and you're going to have a great weekend. So go ahead and celebrate.
You got it. We are going to